Hey everybody, welcome to the newest customer webinar here at Keap. My name is Grady. I am an expert coach here at Keap, and my role today is to help you as one of our customers get more out of Keap, and in this case, out of the Keap pipeline. Now, before we get too deep into this, what I always love to do is to do a little bit of a tech check, just to make sure that everyone feels comfortable interacting in a Zoom webinar. And in this environment. So one of the first things I want to make sure is that you can see me, see my screen here sharing the Keap, pipeline in Keap, and also that you can hear me okay. So one of the things we have available in Zoom is a little hand raise icon. And if you can hear me okay, go ahead and click on that hand raise and let me know you can hear me okay. All right. See him coming in. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now, the nice thing with that hand raise icon is that it actually has two functions. One is to let me know that you can hear me, but the other one is to let me know when you've got a question that you want to ask, vocally, I guess is the right way to say that. And so if you raise your hand while we're doing the webinar together today, I'll go ahead and I'll give you access to speak, and you can voice your question, and I'll answer it. Now, there's one other way that you can ask a question today, and that is in the Q&A section. So if you look down that panel there where you've got those interactive options, one of them is Q&A. And in Q&A, you can type out a question that you want to have answered. And the great thing about the Q&A section versus like the chat option is that I have some organization tools that help me be more intentional with those Q&As as they come in. The way that we've got today's session planned out, we will take some time in the beginning here to do some instruction. We'll be talking about the pipeline in Keap and showing you how it works, how one might be set up. And as we go, you might have some questions about that process. Maybe I say something that doesn't quite jive right with you. Maybe you've got an idea of something that can enhance it. Maybe it's got another concern that you have. And if you want to ask it at the moment, you are more than welcome. I would love to have you guys ask questions as we go. That's perfect. Now, sometimes some questions might not be appropriate for the flow of the instruction. And so I might take that question and say, right now I won't answer it, but I'll answer it during the session today. And that's why we also block some time out at the end of the instruction to do Q&A on the pipeline. And so even if you have a question that maybe you don't feel like is a great question to ask in the training, that's okay. We'll have time cut out for you to ask a question after the training is over in our pipeline Q&A section. And so you can raise your hand to ask a question vocally, or you can use our Q&A section to ask those questions. The other benefit that we have in these sessions is general Q&A. So if you've got a question that maybe isn't pipeline specific, but as you've come here today or as we've been presenting and talking, you might have some ideas pop into your head, and you might say, hey, I've got Grady here. I've got some other experts here in Keap as other customers are here. What could I ask, or what I need help with to get these concerns I have resolved? And so whether you want to raise your hand, use the Q&A, and ask those questions during our session in the instruction point or in the Q&A, you are more than welcome. We want to make sure that you don't leave this session with more questions than when you came in, and hopefully the questions that you have are zero by the time you leave today. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Now I want to call out as well is that today's session is meant for pipeline in Keap. And so you might actually be a user of Infusionsoft, one of our other products. Our pipeline in Infusionsoft has some thematic similarities. There are stages to your pipeline. There are ways that you can automate follow-up, but visually, and some of the functions will be very different. So if you're using Infusionsoft, you are more than welcome to stick around and be here for our session, and I think you'll get some value out of it. But if not, if you feel like maybe this isn't quite for you, you can always let me know, and I can make sure that I get you some resources dedicated to our Infusionsoft pipeline, since we don't have a customer webinar that delves into that at this time. The other thing I want to address is that you might log into Keap and not see a pipeline at all. And that might be because you're in our Keap Grow product. Our Keap Grow product does not have a sales pipeline. But again, feel free to stick around. The idea of systematizing your process is something that everyone needs. And so you might be able to take the themes and apply it to Keap Grow in another way. And as you are sticking around and have those questions, I'm glad to help you work through that. Or you might say, hey, I actually want that feature in my edition of Keap. That's great too. Let me know. I can make sure we get you upgraded to Keap Pro. Keap Pro is the edition of our software that has the pipeline that we'll be discussing today. Now, our goal with having the pipeline in Keap is to help you to get better organized, to help you to be able to define your sales process so that you can be more consistent in the way that you follow up with your leads and with your customers. The idea being is that your sales process was probably a higher touch sales process and is typically the same behaviors and actions for every transaction. There might be some variance here and there, but for the most part, it's a pretty consistent experience. And we'll talk about today what that looks like. And as a result, at the end of the session, you're going to be able to have more visibility on your client's journey as they go from being an initial new prospect all the way through to the point where they're a happy and satisfied customer. And we'll help you manage those deals through that process, through your pipeline that you create, to help you to get more closed deals and more closed transactions and get that revenue coming into the business. That's why you brought Keap on board, was to help you to generate more revenue. And to help you to do that, we'll also talk about today how you can enhance the sales pipeline with automation. And there's a couple different options we can get into today, and we'll make sure that we address both of those in our session. So let's jump in. Before we do, I'd love to just give you guys a chance to ask any questions or things that you'd like to know as we get in today's session. So I just want to give you just a quick moment. If you've got any questions about sales pipeline in Keap Pro, to ask those now. Otherwise, we'll jump into the training. All right, I see one that came in here asking, is it possible to customize the pipeline? Yes, we'll talk about that today. So let me go ahead then and switch over to my instance of Keap. Here it is. And let's talk about how we are able to move our contacts in our pipeline. But before we do that, we've got to create it. So if we click over here on the left panel, the pipeline, you'll notice me muting a little bit here and there. I'm actually overcoming a little bit of cold, so I've got some care for you. So I'll mute my mic whenever I gotta clear my throat a little bit. That's the beauty of an online training, is that none of the germs that I'm probably coughing out get to you, so you're safe. And all my coworkers are back at their desks, and I'm locked in this tiny room, protected from the world. So our pipeline. So our pipeline should always begin with some sort of new status. The new status is meant to be basically a holding ground. It is meant to be anytime we create a new lead, it gets dropped in here. And it shouldn't be here more than a few minutes. It's basically there to drop in and live. So let's go ahead and add a new deal. Now, when we create a new deal, that is basically the representation of the deal. It's a transaction that we're trying to get closed and accomplished. And every deal should be attached to one of my clients, one of my contacts inside of my edition of Keap. Now, you can use one of your existing ones, or you can create a new one. In this case here, I'm going to pick myself, Grady, as my deal that I am working through my process. So I'll pick myself here, and I'll give my deal a name. Now, for me, this instance of Keap is set up with my own fictitious business, G&P Custom Flooring. Now, just so you guys know, as a kind of a piece of history, I actually used to have my own window cleaning company where I spent 8 years helping customers say yes to do business with me, work them through the scheduling, servicing, and getting paid process. I actually had a little bit of an eclipse of our service where I had my window cleaning company, and I worked here at Keap for about a year. And while I did that, I learned a lot about how Keap can help my small business, let alone small businesses in general. And so in a lot of the things that I do, I draw upon my own experience as being a small business owner who used Keap. And so if you guys have questions, I'll also maybe even talk about just ideals of running a small business as well, because those things draw from my own personal experience. So in this case here, we're going to have a home that we are installing flooring in. And so we'll just call it the Kerr home. And this deal here, I'm actually not quite sure how much it's worth yet. It's just a new person that said that they were interested. They kind of raised their hand and said, hey, I'd like to know more. And so I'm just going to go ahead and add this new deal. And there it is. I've got a new deal. So let's think about, what is my sales process? What milestones do my leads have to go through before I say this is a closed deal? So the first thing I probably need to do is schedule a consultation. Someone raises their hand and says, I'm interested. And thanks. And so now that they've raised their hand and said they're interested, I need to get them scheduled for consultation. So I'm going to go ahead and add a stage here. Consultation scheduling, and save. I don't like the way that didn't fill out all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. I'll just call it scheduling. I like it short and sweet so it fits in these little cards. So I got scheduling. So my scheduling, what's that word again? Stage. My scheduling stage is dedicated to getting them scheduled for a consultation. That's what I do with people in that stage. Once I schedule the consultation, I'm going to go ahead and have a consultation. So I'm going to call my next stage consulting. I guess I can call it consultating, but that sounds weird. So we'll call it consulting today. The beauty is it's customizable. And like you saw earlier, if I don't like this in the future, I can always rename it. Don't get hung up on your names. Name it whatever the first thing is that comes to your head and move forward. Speaking of which, I've said name it now in present tense. If you're the kind of person who, probably like me, who has multiple screens, I would invite you to have this webinar on one screen and have your instance of Keap in another, and build along with me. If you are on maybe a laptop today and don't have both screens, or in that situation, or you just want to focus in and listen, I appreciate that as well. Go ahead and watch the replay and build along with me when we have that available for you after the session is over. But if you build along with me, I think that will help you to really kind of take the knowledge you're learning today and internalize it. So next stage, consulting. So you can get someone scheduled. Once they're scheduled, they're in the consulting phase. I'm going to go into their location, get a feel for what they're looking to accomplish. And once I do that, I'm going to have a next stage, which is my quoting phase. The quoting phase is when I know how much this deal is going to be, and I'm going to send them a quote to get them to accept. And then my last stage here is kind of like my closed stage, which was I spelled that wrong. That's okay. I've got spell check. So quote accepted. So I've got 5 phases to my funnel. New, scheduling, consulting, quoting, and then quote accepted is basically my closed stage. Now, it's really easy for us to be able to move one of my deals through each phase of our pipeline now. So once I realize I've got a new deal, someone who raised their hand and said they're interested, now you can see here a clarification. I didn't say a new person, that's a prospect or someone who's, I found their name, or someone that's, a referral. This is somebody who has actually said that they're interested. If I put every single contact I have into my pipeline, this becomes very cumbersome. A pipeline is meant for people that are actively moving through the sales process. If at any point somebody becomes not active in my pipeline, I might remove their deal and manage them as a contact that I'm nurturing from here on out. So we're thinking of this as just a person who is actively moving through the sales process. So we've got Grady Kerr. He's got the Kerr home. And what I need to do is go ahead and move him over to scheduling. So now that I've moved him over to scheduling, I'm going to go ahead and click on this task here. And now I can see all the information about this deal. You can see here that clicking and dragging is one way I can move a contact through this process. I can also click on the drop down, choose my default pipeline, and move them this way. Or I can simply click and move them to my next stage. You can also see here that I can have other people added to this deal. It might be that this deal, I've got not only Grady attached to this deal that I'm trying to close, but I also am working with his wife as well. And I can go ahead and add another contact to this deal for his wife so that I know everyone involved in the process. I can go ahead and add an estimated close date of when I will have this quote accepted. In this case here, I feel like with Christmas coming up, I can probably have this deal closed before the new year. I know they said they were pretty interested in the quick conversation I had with them earlier. And I can also add notes and send out emails right from this card here. So I can go ahead and click on note, and I can say, all right, perfect. And there's our note. If I go ahead and back up here, I can see in my deal activity, here's my note. And notes are a great place to add those little thought bubbles that you have about a deal. Sometimes it is transactional, just had a great conversation, and here are the details of the conversation. But sometimes just epiphanies that you have, where maybe it's, there's a deal on flooring that Grady said that he was interested in. I want to make sure that I include that in the quote that I create, so I can make sure that he feels like he's getting a great deal on the install. I can also send emails directly from this deal as well. I want to show you one other thing, and that is how the deals show up on the contact record. So if I click on contacts and look at all my contacts, and I go here and I scroll down to Grady, there he is. Is it there yet? It's not there yet. Let me go ahead and refresh, get that to appear. There it is. Okay. I may have missed that earlier. So there it is here, our pipeline. So I can see the pipeline. And there we are. I can see here, there's a little preview where Grady will be going later. There we are. I've gotten him in the scheduling task. And just like on the deal, I can manage where Grady is at. So let's say I got Grady scheduled, and so he's now on my calendar. I'm going to move him over to the next stage, which is he's in consulting. So if I go back to my pipeline, I can see, look at that. Grady's moved on to the next stage. And as I go through, I meet with Grady, and I go ahead and we talk. I go on site, and I know I need to get him a quote. So I'm going to go ahead and move him to quoting. and I'll create a quote for him. Now, if you're not familiar with quoting yet, that's okay. Later on today, we'll have another session all about appointments. And tomorrow we're going to have a session all about quotes and invoices. I think it's tomorrow. Maybe it's Friday. Anyways, if you go back to our webinar page, you can see our calendar of where all of our sessions are. And we also probably have one recorded for you so you can watch the replay if you need to get it today. But today we're focusing just on the pipeline. So I'm not going to go into too deep about what it takes to get the quote created. But this is where I organize where that's the task I need to do. So once I get that quote out, I then go ahead and they accept it. I move them over to quote accepted. And perfect. That's essentially my closed stage. Oh, let me go ahead and also put in my deal value. And the great thing is it tells me now in my quote accepted bucket here at this stage, I have $1,500 in potential revenue that can be generated. Because quote accepted is not money received. It's just the agreement that we'll do business together. Now, you saw me doing a lot of this manual work, and you'll probably say, hey, I actually do a lot of that stuff myself, and I do it manually every single time. So let me show you a little bit what we can do with automation to enhance our sales pipeline. One of the things that you can do with Keap's pipeline is have more than one pipeline. So you saw here, we've been working in my default pipeline, but once I get a quote accepted, then I have to go and do the work. And that's also a business process that I need to manage. So if I click on my flooring installation pipeline, you can see here's my other pipeline. And it's very similar. I've got scheduling to do with this service. I've got installing, meaning that I'm now doing the work of installing. And once it gets installed, I need to send out an invoice. And I need to make sure that I've gotten paid for that work. And you can see I've got a couple of deals all moving through this process. And one of the things you can see here is this little gear icon with a lightning bolt next to it. What that means is that in this stage, I've got automation that happens. In this case here, if we click on the lightning bolt and click on configure automation, I've got two things that are happening. If somebody, or I should say if a deal moves into this stage, I will create a task. And this task tells the contact owner to schedule this person for an installation. And that's due in 5 days. I also have, when someone moves into this stage, an email that goes out that says, let's get your installation scheduled. It's great to meet you. And I've got a link to my installation booking link so I can get that person scheduled quickly. So rather than moving them into scheduling, then writing an email and calling them up, I hopefully can take some quicker actions and to say, this email will automatically go out whenever I move someone to this stage because I always want this to happen. It's always the same. So why not automate it? So two things happen whenever someone moves into scheduling. A task gets created and I send out an email. That's okay because I didn't make any changes. I also have a lightning bolt over here in invoicing. So in invoicing, I've got configure automation. And here I can say, when someone moves into the invoicing stage, I can create a task for myself to create an invoice. So I don't forget, because every time someone moves into invoicing, I want to create an invoice for them. So these things that I do every single time someone moves into a stage, it's really important that I create reminders for myself to go and do those things so that nobody falls through the cracks. And so this really helps when you've got a process that is repeatable. It is the same every time. And honestly, that's the best way to run your business, is to have a process that is consistent so that as you grow, it makes it easier to scale. You can bring on people that you can train to replicate what you do. And not only that, you can actually train machines to do what you do. And that's how you really scale. The other thing I want to point out is that there is one level deeper of automation. So the in-pipeline automation is very straightforward. You can send out an email and you can create a task. And for a pipeline, that is a wonderful way to keep organized and to keep things going and to get sure communication is always happening. But sometimes you might have a need for a little bit deeper automation, or maybe a more stair-stepped approach. And that's okay. We've got you covered with that. So what I'd like to do is go over to our campaigns. Now, we won't be diving too deep into campaigns today, but we do have a session all about campaigns on Friday. So I would encourage you to join us for that, or you can even go back and watch the recording from last week. But in this case, I'll at least introduce you to the concept. And so we've got this campaign in here called Explore Campaigns. And we've got a campaign called, where is it at? Here it is. Get reminded to follow up on inactive deals. So if I click on Get Started, Start Setup, there it is, Finish Setup. And now we can see here a great campaign that gives me some prompts and tells me what this campaign is designed to do. Now, this campaign here has specific goals that says when a lead moves into a certain stage. So I can say, when a lead moves into, we'll use our default. And we'll say when someone moves into the scheduling stage, and I'm going to wait, in this case, I'm going to wait a week. So if somebody basically is in this stage, the scheduling stage, for 7 days, I'm going to create a secondary task for myself to follow up, to make sure I don't forget about this person in this stage. I don't want my deals to get stale. And so this is kind of my fail-safe to make sure that I follow up with this person. But if they move out of the scheduling stage, maybe I get them scheduled, through my email that already got sent out, or through my task that got created when I first moved them into this stage, then I don't need the follow-up, and they'll leave the sequence before that even happens. If you've got more questions about Campaign Builder, or wondering, hey, what is this awesome thing I'm looking at? That's okay. You can jump in today and start working on it, or you can join us for our session all about Campaign Builder, and we'll talk about that together. But there are options here for deeper automation, more than what just the pipeline presents itself. But I would say work with what you're comfortable with. You might feel comfortable with just starting with I just want to organize my stages today and put a deal in there and move that deal through my process. And that is a great first step. You might want to take it one step further and say, I know my process already, and I am doing a lot of the same things over and over again. And you can throw in some of those little automations that occur natively in the pipeline. Or you might say, I actually have a really robust process, and I want to use Campaign Builder to enhance that. Wonderful. Do that. But just work at the speed that you feel comfortable with. I'd also recommend that if you work with a sales team, just start at stage 1. I have found that with companies that have a sales team, you usually want to baby step them into a sales pipeline before you go into full automation. The other thing that's important is that automation can take time to create. And I would say get started today with pipeline and then build upon it as you learn through the process. So we've talked about sales pipeline today, talked about how to create your pipeline, how to manage your deals, and how to enhance it with automation. I would just love to take some time now and talk with you about what questions you have about the pipeline. So feel free to use the hand raise icon if you want to vocally ask a question. I'll make sure you get unmuted. Or if you want to just use the Q&A section and ask a question there, I'd be happy to take your questions at this time. All right, Michael, thank you so much for raising your hand. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you here. All right, Michael, I think you're still muted, so go ahead and unmute yourself. Oops.
So, hi, how are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Great, thank you very much. Excuse me, I came a bit later, but only one question. So basically, difference between pipeline and campaigns. When you said right now, just start with a pipeline. I'm working on my digital product, and actually I thought I will use campaigns, yeah, for
Okay.
this. So what's the difference when you say start with pipeline and move on then with campaigns? What's the
Great question. Yeah. So what I'm talking about is that, let me go ahead and go to my flooring installation pipeline. So there is some simple automation that exists in the pipeline itself. So if I can click on configure automation here in the scheduling stage, I've got these little simple automations that just trigger automatically when I move someone into here. Create a task and send an email. Simple, straightforward things that happen. Now, if I want to get a little bit more detailed in my pipeline, then I can use Campaign Builder and create bigger automation schemes with delay timers and other options that don't present themselves here.
Okay, understood. And what are the typical ways you use it? I mean, for what do you use these pipelines?
Yeah, great question. So what you would use the pipeline for is basically moving your prospective deals through your sales process. So for example, if I go back to my default pipeline, I'm going to go ahead and move my deal back to the beginning. I've got my new deal here of the Kerr home that needs new flooring. And when I talk with Grady at the Kerr home,
Yes.
I need to get him scheduled. So I move him to scheduled so I always know where he's at in his process.
Yes.
And then as I have him scheduled, now he's on my calendar, I'll move him to consulting. And as I meet with him, get an idea of what he needs to get accomplished, I'll move him to quoting as I create his quote and send it out.
Yeah.
And then once he accepts the quote, I'll move him on. So it helps me to be very intentional. As I have a pipeline full of deals, I can always see where people are at in my process and what they need to do next.
Perfect. So I see it like I will do maybe campaigns first, and as soon as the client is in my high ticket offer and I talk to him one-on-one, I'm directly in a pipeline. I can look there.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. If you've got more of a hands-off process that is exactly the same every time, definitely a campaign could be a better bet for that. This is definitely meant for more high-touch,
yes,
very verbal kind of communication.
But very useful as well. Part of the process. Perfect. And one question: can I see kind of overview where I can see? Oh, for this week I have scheduled 3 installations.
Yes.
Or 3 payments should be paid.
Yeah. So right here is where I have my pipeline deals that I'm working on. But if I want to get specific and say I just need to see the appointments themselves, if I click on appointments, I can see my calendar where all of my scheduled appointments live. I don't think this app has anything scheduled right now, so there's nothing in it. Like Christmas Day is on there. But this is where I could see all of my appointments. And anything that has an appointment will have this little dot here underneath it, so I can see where they're at. Same thing with my quotes or my invoices. If I go over to money, I can see all of my recent invoices that are paid. If I had some that were unpaid, they would show up here as well. And I can see all of my quotes that are out there pending or accepted, whether they live as part of a pipeline or not.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And is it Michael? Is that how you say it, or Michal?
Michal, yeah.
Michal. Okay,
but you
perfect.
can say Michael. It's all right.
I'll say whatever you want. I heard the accent. I'm like, I probably got that wrong. So thank you for the clarification.
That's all right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Any other questions you guys have here today? So we talked about pipeline and even some of the other aspects of Keap. So if you've got even a question just about Keap in general, or even just about running a business, we've got some time. I'm glad to help you guys out. All right, yeah. Michal.
Michal. Michael.
So sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Maybe back to this pipelines when we are in this webinar. So is there maybe also some charts where you see your quotes coming, or your expected invoices or something like that?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
So currently there aren't any real chartings that will show me as far as like a reporting of quotes. It's very visual at this point when it comes to our quotes. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and add a new quote. And I'll choose Frank today. I got some pine flooring for him. Oops, let me edit that. We're going to do 650 square feet. Save. Next, and save and send. And now I can see here my recent quotes. I can see that this is one that is sent but not accepted. So it tells me this is one I probably need to follow up with at some point. I can also look here, my search, and I can look for my sent quotes. So if I want to narrow things down, I can see a list of all of my sent but not accepted quotes at this time.
Okay. Perfect. So when as soon as you clicked on a person and change from one stage to another, you also see then, or even when you send a quote, it's automatically here in the quotes, or when you receive the money, it's automatically in the money, etc. Right?
Correct. So whenever I send this quote to Frank, he has a button there that he can accept it, and it will update it here. It'll also send me an email, and I actually have the Keap mobile app for iPhone. And so like my Apple Watch will even give me an update that tells me that I've got a quote accepted.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's always fun. I'll do these webinars and I'll be going through the process, and also my watch will go off and go bing, and I'm like, hey guys, great. I got a new text message.
I got money. I got paid. Yeah, that's perfect. That's why I ordered iPhone as well. To use Keap on my phone. One question came to my mind. I had a trouble to add the bank outside of US. Is it already possible, or even with a currency? Can I add euro as a currency?
Yes, you can change your currency if you go over to up here to settings, and then down here to products, payments, and invoicing. And then up here, I can change my currency that I collect. What country are you in?
Germany.
Germany. Okay, perfect. So right now, our Keap Payments feature is only available in the US, I think it's UK and Canada, yep. And so we don't have the option there. But I do believe that PayPal is available as an option for you. It's brand new. I don't know all the details yet, but that should be an option for you there.
That's it. And is it connected, or how it's?
So what it would do is when you click on connect, I'll do it here. It wants to then connect to your already existing PayPal account. Now, I don't want to give you guys all my PayPal account info, so I don't want to put it in here.
That's okay.
But let's see here, and let's see here, and there we go. And Germany's an option. Awesome.
Yes. Okay. So. So I print. Okay. So I connected to my PayPal account, right?
Yes.
That's perfect. Okay, so that's easy.
And then, how do I get back? Let me go ahead and here we go. All right, perfect. Yeah, and the cool thing is too is that I'm pretty sure it'll work in Germany as well. It works here in the U.S. Is that I get a lot of customers that pay with Venmo. My wife does actually. My wife is a hairstylist, and so she gets clients that pay with Venmo. And before it was disconnected, where I had to like go and manually update the invoicing when it was somebody wanted to pay with Venmo. Now she can send an invoice. If they pull it up on their phone, and Venmo is installed on their phone, it'll recognize that Venmo exists, and it gives them a button to pay with Venmo as well. So there's more options to pay.
So with Keap as well, yeah?
Yep, with Keap as well. Yeah, she uses Keap in her own salon. That's kind of my testing ground now with all things Keap is her salon. She's my guinea pig. She's a good sport. The other great thing about PayPal payments that you can utilize this for is as PayPal credit. You said that you've got some high ticket items. Some customers, they may not be ready to make that high ticket purchase, but they want the value right away. And sometimes you're in that spot of like, do I give you a payment plan? Do I, give you the value and expose myself to risk? One option you can provide your customers is a PayPal credit, where PayPal will extend your client a line of credit, and they handle the debtor relationship, and they give you a payment in full with no fees, no worry of default. PayPal accepts the entire risk.
At no fees, you say?
Yeah, no like finance fees. I think you still do like the transaction fee as if they paid with a credit card, but there's no financing fees that you have to take care of.
Amazing.
Yeah, we want to make it really easy for you to get paid. That's sometimes the hardest part about doing business with someone is just getting that money in. So we're trying to remove as many barriers as possible.
When we talk about the pipeline and the campaign, it's all about my imagination. So where does it stay? How do I connect it to my funnel actually, where I already have PayPal at the end? Is it like, can I create my funnel, get my lead, and direct him to Keap, or should I leave him with PayPal directly connected to my funnel? So that's maybe there is an advantage.
Oh, great. Malone said this was super clear. Thank you, Malone, for the feedback. I really appreciate that. You'll get an email after the session's over for a survey. I would love for you to give that feedback. I just want to take care of Malone's comment real fast. All right, back to the question about your pipeline. How are you currently managing these leads?
So I have Bucket.io segmenting software.
Okay.
And I get email, and then I have my sales page, and after that, after I click on a button, there is a PayPal connectivity, and this client goes directly to PayPal. And on this way, I want to tag this person anyway, so I will use PayPal and Pixel to tag people on this way. The question is, is it better to have PayPal on my funnel at the end, or do it through Keap, or what would you say? I mean, or is it?
Great. So if I understand it right, you're using another tool and you're selling a digital product. And the idea is the customer really is a hands-off transaction where they go through this process and purchase without making any human connection. And then what you were looking for, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then what you're looking for Keap to do then is kind of pick up the ball and run with it and allow you to use these people for your high-ticket, high-touch sales process. Is that right?
Yeah, a question whether it's possible or whether it makes sense.
Awesome. It makes perfect sense, and it's totally possible. In this situation, what you're probably going to need, though, is some sort of bridge to connect PayPal and Keap together. Because right now, Keap doesn't have what's the right word for it? Like an online order form feature to it. Keap is only available to do invoicing, and those are made manually for a customer.
Yes.
So in your current sales process, where it's a zero-touch, pay online, always buy the same product, you can keep your same process as is for right now. And then I would recommend a tool that I find a lot of success with, and we use it a lot in our own internal processes, is a tool called Zapier. And what Zapier does is it's a bridge that says, hey, whenever somebody pays me with PayPal, I want you to take that person and move them over to Keap. And I want you to apply a tag or add it to a campaign or give me a task to follow up.
Yes.
And so you basically now hand them off to your high-touch system, which is where Keap comes in.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, Zapier.
Awesome. Yeah, we're big fans. They do great work, and they're pretty affordable, too, for what they provide.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions today, guys?
Is there a way to get contacts to Keap from my Facebook? Just just transfer them directly?
Great question. So if you're looking and is this like Facebook, your personal contacts or contacts that like a page?
Yeah, first personal, and second all the people who like your page, comment on your page, post your
Great.
page. Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the answer to both those is no. I don't know why I asked for clarity. Facebook is pretty concerned about privacy. And so what they don't want you to do is to say, hey, this person that is your friend on Facebook or likes your page, they're engaging in a relationship, and Facebook is like their go-between, their buffer to say, hey, like I want to connect with you, but only through Facebook. And so to take that person out of Facebook and put them somewhere else is a bit of a breach of trust. And so Facebook doesn't allow it. But there are some strategies we can use to get them transitioned over. We actually did a session yesterday, or earlier this week, all about lead capture. And so I would go back and either register for the next session or watch the replay, where we talk about how you can use landing pages on your social media to get people to opt in.
Yeah.
And so that's one way to do it.
That's perfect. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other way that I've seen customers do that, again with another tool, is a tool called ManyChat. ManyChat is an awesome tool that works with your Facebook Messenger. So as you get in conversations with Facebook Messenger, you can use then a go-between like Zapier to move those connections over to Keap. And ManyChat actually has a dialogue that you can configure that asks for permission, asks for email. So it's all done above board. Nothing sneaky. You're not trying to trick someone into getting into your funnel. It's all done above board so that the customers always feel like this is all content and communication that I've requested or that I'm aware of, and nothing feels like spam or pushy.
ManyChat, yeah?
Yeah, ManyChat.
Cool. Many thanks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, what I'll do is...
yeah, so...
in the chat area, I went ahead and just put those two websites in there. And those are both great resources. And what I would say, and I think I've called out a few times in this session, is start with the basics, like get things going. For right now, maybe it's just have a conversation and then manually move them over. And then as things start going, you start growing, you're like, hey, I can't do this manually. Then start investing in those automated tools that make your life easier.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
All right, awesome. Any other questions today, guys? We've got just a few moments left.
I have many questions pipeline, but because I came a bit later. But maybe if you have not touched something from the pipeline.
Yeah. And then tell me, how long have you been a customer of Keap for?
Since end of November, actually. I decided to go for active campaign, and then on one conference, I saw an amazing sales pitch for Keap, so I decided to go for Keap, to go for the best. Go for the best. Huh?
Well, we're happy to have you. Perfect. And then did you get set up with a coach to help you get started, or are you starting on your own?
Yes. I got already 2 calls already, strategy call and one of the 3 calls. Yes.
Perfect. So what I would recommend is I'll try to have it out by the end of the day today, at the very least tomorrow. Watch the replay of Pipeline today. We covered just about everything, and I'll also include some help articles on Pipeline. Check those out. If you have more questions when you have your next call with your coach, pick their brain as well. And if you feel like there's still some things outstanding once you kind of dive in and start setting it up, come next week. You can come to these webinars as much as you want.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Like I said, we got sessions all week long on all kinds of topics. Go back to that scheduling page and register for what you need, or watch those replays. The other thing I would recommend is that when you get an email and a little bit from me asking for some feedback, we'd love to have it. We want to make sure that we're spending time on the stuff that's helpful and cutting out things that aren't. And so if there's anything today that you felt like it was not worth your time, let me know. I'm strong. I can take it. But if there's anything that you felt like was really valuable, make sure you let me know as well, so I make sure I double down and keep doing.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, hey, have a great day, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.